Hi, this is Joey Ebanks, and I'm just letting you all know that the Joey Ebanks Show is for paid programming. I accept all liability from the show. My guests will accept theirs and all callers, and I am not affiliated in any way with the Paramount Group of companies, its managers or employees. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Joey Ebanks Show. See, no long speech opening today. I'm going to go straight to some discussion. And I just want to read something that I received some way today. Let me just read this for you. Good afternoon, Joey. This may not be the topic this afternoon. However, I have some questions concerning corruption of ministers. I have evidence to prove that a minister has abused his office. This minister made an arrangement for credit to be given to his company. I understand that his shares in the company was subsequently transferred to another shareholder in trust. Right around the time it was rumored that he was transferring shares to his wife. He is still very much involved in the daily transactions of this company. This arrangement was made over 3 years ago, and he received the product, which he never paid for. The total bill is hundreds of thousands of dollars, so it's no small change. At the 4K Investment Alliance launch, this same minister told me he was going to make me so much money, I should just write off his debt. I was absolutely insulted. He obviously has no intention of settling his bill, as I have tried on numerous occasions to collect. I had retained a lawyer and was asked by a stakeholder to put the lawsuit on hold, as they had a big job and would soon settle the bill. This payday was Friday, April the 26th, 2013, but no funds was received. Therefore, I am asking, 1, what recourse do I have? And I'll answer that by saying the best recourse is to table the evidence to the Corruptions Crime Unit and the Commissioner of Police and let them begin the investigation. The second question is, shouldn't he be required to make good on his commitment? The answer is absolutely, he should, yes. Should this minister be contesting a seat in the upcoming general elections? Well, he can. Certainly as the investigation is ongoing, he can. If he's a current minister, that's more than they afforded the previous premier, but he can. So one of the things I'd like to say to this individual is, for your question number 1, certainly give it to the Corruption Crime Unit, the Commissioner of Police, let them commence the investigation, give them all the evidence. And once you've done that, I would really appreciate if you'd let me and my listening audience know, and then we can talk about it in further detail. So that's one, everyone listening, that's number 1. I'm going to ask my producer to play a short clip. Now, this clip is a conversation between me and Minister Glidden, and it's in relation to the DART DECO 36 megawatt bid. This recording was done after my arrest, after my suspension, after my arrest, after my bail, but prior to my charges. So in this conversation, he didn't know I was recording. This is one of those 22 recordings I have. And this is about 2 minutes of an hour and 45-minute conversation. So I'm going to ask the producer to just play that for me.
The petition that you see, I have an answer for it. A solution, right? The solution? Oh. No. Besides that, right? The solution is, alright, since there's a dispute, we're going to extend the life of your existing generator for this period, and we're opening this file to the world. But I answer the board, that process that was followed, right? Was that? It was a more rigorous process than my understanding is when I was that's right. When I was 3 times. Yes, right. Now, they can argue and say that even that was illegal. And I look back at my email, so I see emails. It wasn't a decision that the managing director took, or even when I went to Shelly and asked, right, how to withdraw out there, because there was a question about how unequivocal there was. That's right. That's what the question was. Right. And the lawyer says, if it could be shown that it was not unequivocal, that's right. And then the board decided, or ER decided, to go back up because it was a long period of time that was there, and see who would come back in. You all will remember at that, and I'm quite happy to say this. At that stage, We didn't care whether it was CUC. We wanted someone that was going to be offering our competition to CUC, right? And if Dark pulled out, unless another company replaced them, I can remember them telling me, oh, they had spoke to someone, they thought about someone, they thought Seymour, or someone else was there. At the end of all of that, Dark came back in fiction and said, no, we're willing to go forward with this. And they went forward, and they decided that it was right. What grounds do you see would have for challenging in that? Based on Joey's argument? I don't know what that would be.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk you through this a little bit, and then I'm going to ask the producer to play it again. This is a conversation as it relates to the DECO bid and the fact that the DECO group withdrew their bid initially. There were back office discussions to get them to come back into the bid and be able to withdraw their withdrawal. In the opening statement, you'll hear me say that the recommendation is that the CUC be allowed to extend the life of their generating units, and that we go back out globally to the world, is what I say, and have them bid on this 36 megawatts once again. And in the end, you'll hear Minister Glidden confirm that DECO did come back to the table, DART did come back to the table, so I'm going to play it again. I know it's a little bit rough and it's not very clear, and I'll also post this up on my Facebook page so that you can listen to it at your leisure. So I'm going to ask the producer to play it one more time so you can listen to this. And bear in mind, he ends with the comments that he's not sure how CUC can dispute it. Well, there's a little piece of evidence that I have that goes with this that allows this to be very clear once we get that independent investigation. So I'm going to ask her to play it one more time.
The petition that you see, I have an answer for it, a solution, right? No. Besides that, right? The solution is, all right, since there's a dispute, we're going to extend the life of your existing generator for this period, and we're opening this back to the work.
But my answer is simple one. That process that was followed, right?
Was that?
It was a more rigorous process than my understanding is when I was that's right. And when we had it.
Yes, right.
Now, they can argue and say that even that was done legally. And I look back at my emails, so I see it wasn't a decision that the managing director took, or even when I went to Shelly and asked for how to withdraw out there, because there was a question about how unequivocal there was.
That's right.
That's what the question was.
That's right.
And the lawyer says if it could be shown that it was not unequivocal,
that's right.
and then the board decided, or ERA decided to go back up because it was a long period of time that was there, and see who would come back in. You all will remember at that, and I'm so happy to say this. At that stage, we didn't care whether it was CUC. We wanted someone that was going to be offering our competition to CUC, right? And if Dark pulled out, unless another company replaced them, I can remember them telling me, oh, they had spoke to someone, they thought about someone, they thought Seymour, or someone else was there. At the end of all of that, Dark came back in fiction and said, no, we're willing to go forward with this. And they went forward, and they decided that it was right. What grounds do you see would have for challenging in that? Based on Joey's argument? I don't know what that would be.
So there it is again, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, I will post this up so you can listen at your leisure and you can clean it up a bit to hear some more. And there is evidence to prove that DECO withdrew. There was back office discussions that occurred, and they were let back in. They were allowed to withdraw their withdrawal. This was done. This tape was done after my suspension, after my arrest, but prior to my charges. I posted up the little note I got on the minister who has some outstanding debt. So that's 2 ministers. The third one, as I said on my Facebook page, but before I get to the third one, I'm going to post up now an article that was found in a local newspaper. And this article is entitled, Government Aims to Reduce Energy Costs, and it relates to the energy policy. You will note, I'm posting up right now on my Facebook page, and you will note that on page 4 of these pictures, you will see where it makes clear in here, and I'm going to read this from the newspaper article. With the introduction of a second generator to the national grid by DART subsidiary DECO, Government also noted that it will vouch for the small operators too. So those are all posted up here on Facebook for you to read. You will note that the date of this article is March the 21st, 2013, well after my call for the independent investigation. As you recall, the chairperson of the ERA said publicly they were going to go for the independent investigation. I asked for it to be absolutely independent, not done by a local firm. We have heard nothing from His Excellency the Governor. Yes, I'm being nice. I'm not using Taylorism anymore. I'm saying His Excellency the Governor. We have heard nothing about this investigation. And in fact, from this article, we can conclude that Cabinet, which His Excellency the Governor is a part of and has selected, this unconstitutional Cabinet that is now operational, is making it clear that they're recognizing the DART subsidiary DECO and as a second generating unit. So I'm not sure where COC is in this. I know that the overseas bidder is still waiting and wanting an independent audit. Maybe they're no longer interested for whatever reasons as well. I've prepared an affidavit that I'm willing to share and go to court with. So this is part of the entire corrupt elite movements that I've been discussing. We know, one, that there are allegations on the table with the Commissioner of Police against Ezra Miller that are not being investigated. We know there are allegations on the table against the current Auditor General not being addressed and the public made aware of what's going on. There are allegations on the table as it relates to the DECO bid. There are allegations on the table as it relates to misappropriation of funds by the current acting managing director of the ERA, with all on the table at the Corruption Crime Unit. We know that Mr. Dan Scott is the chairman of the Legal and Judiciary Commission. That means he's in charge of all the judges and all the heads of the legal system. And we also now know that he is also part of the National Security Unit, which National Security Council, and that council advises and is where the Commissioner of Police reports to. So he, along with, and I can tell you based upon the Constitution as it relates to this National Council, this Security Council, is very clear. The Constitution says that the Governor will not intervene and will accept the guidance from this unit unless it relates or in some way affects England in some way as it relates to security. So we know that they're advising the Commissioner on who to arrest. So I'm going to post up now the National Security Council as it relates, as outlined in the Constitution. That's also posted up. You can read it for yourself. And the Governor chairs the Council. However, the new Constitution requires the Governor to act in accordance with the advice of the Council unless he feels such actions would adversely affect Her Majesty's interests. In such cases, he must then report to the Council at its next meeting. And that's how it ends. So you can read it for yourself. But clearly, we know Minister Scotland made it clear he had no knowledge of the renewal of the Commissioner of Police contract. We have not heard from the current Premier, Ms. Juliana O'Connor-Conley. And that third one is, in fact, the question is, what happened to the investigation into the Brack paving? Clearly, months ago, a year ago, this was a big issue for the Governor and the Auditor General. It was all over the press that she had misappropriated funds, that it was illegal, and there were pending charges. And suddenly, with the removal of the then Premier, these charges we have heard nothing about. Now, as for me, I'm happy that she paved Kimmerbrook. I have no issue with the paving of Kimmerbrook. I have an issue with accusations being made publicly about a member of Cabinet who later on becomes Premier, and those charges go away from the Auditor General and from His Excellency the Governor, while everything else is going on. Now, it sounds to me as if Mr. Dan Scott, who has the judiciary, he now has the Commissioner of Police and the Police RCIP that he can advise and direct. And he is part of the C4C. So his brother Jude is a candidate, his other brother Emil is an executive member. So it looks to me, from where I sit, that His Excellency the Governor and Dan Scott are working to create the next new government.
through the C4C and arresting anyone who might be or are any opposition to them. So my advice to the voters is this: you cannot afford in this upcoming election to elect even one C4C member. You cannot afford to vote for them, because with this kind of money, with this kind of power, if you even get one elected, chances are you're going to corrupt your entire parliament, because there's only so many times individuals can say no to large amounts of money. So my advice to you all, if we're going to end corruption in this country, let us do so by ensuring that not one single member of the C4C is elected. Now, you know who the candidates are. You know where they're running. We know that we backtrack now from those candidates, and we go back to the heads of the C4C. We know that Mr. Dan Scott is working with the National Security Council and had given instructions to the Commissioner of Police. We have to assume that the rumor that Ezra Miller was promised Speaker of the House by the C4C is true, and that's why there's been no action by the Commissioner of Police to deal with these charges on the table of importation of several hundred of Cubans and labor from Dominican Republic to the Ritz. Massive amounts of people. We did a check. It's around about 800 that were needed at the time. So we know that, and we know that he was doing it for a fee. We know that there's an existing penal code that covers that. Even the attempt to is clear in the penal code, and yet nothing has been done. So it seems to me that certain people are being protected. Now, you heard the first message I read and the allegation being made against a minister. I've advised the person who wrote this to go ahead. A person said they would be listening, so I'm saying go ahead, submit it to the Corruption Crime Unit. Let us know when it's been submitted, and let's see if this allegation is going to be actioned and what is going to be done. So, folks, we're well on our way to fighting corruption. We're well on our way to bringing this to an end. We are, because more and more people are standing up now. People are no longer afraid. People are stepping up. People are stepping forward. We know that there's about 3 lawsuits against the current Commissioner of Police from other police officers. We know a senior police officer tabled to the governor allegations of corruption by the Commissioner of Police. So we know all of this is existing, and more people are coming forward, and more people are standing up. And we need now to let our voices be heard. And we have got to ensure that we continue to fight to end corruption in Cayman. I set out on this journey to end this, and we're going to end this. We're going to bring it to an end. The biggest fear that they have with me is getting elected. They want to ensure that I do not get elected, because if I get elected, they're going to go to jail. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts or disputes about that, because I can assure you, folks, being an independent candidate does not matter. If the other people elected do not agree to these independent investigations that will allow us to rid ourselves of these corrupt elite, it'll be the shortest parliament in the history of the world. Because I'm going to call on you all to rally with you all to end and recall every one of them. Let's have some new elections, because they are obviously corrupt themselves. Well, there can be no issue if I am lying with having independent investigators come in and investigate these things and make it public so that you all know. That's all I've asked for. That's all I've been asking for. We know the evidence is there. I've posted it up on my Facebook page. I've told you nothing that I have not produced evidence on, and we know nothing is being done. Certain people in this country are being protected, and it's the corrupt elite. And everybody else is just, it's open season on every one of us, the poor, and those others, to go to jail, to be arrested, to be destroyed in any way possible, while the corrupt elite continues to steal everything that isn't nailed down, and nothing is done. There's no police action. It's time for us to stop that, because that is what is causing so much poverty in this country. We're going to take a short break. When I come back, I'm going to bring on my guests, and we're going to have some open discussion as well. A lot of topics to talk about, and we're going to have some fun discussions. So don't forget to call. The number is 946-9898, 946-9898. You're listening to the Joe Ebanks Show. We'll be right back.
Now back to more Joey Ebanks Show on Vibe 98.9 FM.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Joey Ebanks Radio Show, and I have as my guest none other than Miss Sandra Caton.
Hi,
how are you doing, Sandra?
Hi, Joey. I'm good.
We're going to talk about a couple of different things today. I've posted up on my Facebook page that nothing's off the table. We're going to talk. We have a number of topics that have been suggested. Cayman versus expat workplace relationship. Is it working? Why not? And how do we resolve it? So don't hesitate to give us a call. We'd like to hear from you. We want to engage you. You want to have these discussions about these issues that have been popping up from people on Facebook. And how about cost of living, rollover policy, government debt, economic recovery, broken justice system, as we can clearly see we have, biased media houses. All of these are open topics for us to discuss today. And I know, Sandra, you want to talk about the job hunt that you're...
Yeah, hi, Joey, and good evening to your listeners as well. I think that, a lot of persons have been quite aware of this job initiative, this job drive, if you will. And I just wanted to make sure that had anyone missed it, I'm giving them another opportunity to find out a little bit more. Basically, what I've done is trying to use social media as well as, just talking to people one-on-one, any method that I can to assist individuals in finding employment. So over the years, people always come to me more on a personal level to assist them with getting jobs. And I must say that, I've had some pretty good success. But I'm trying to make a more concerted effort this time around and actually utilize my business email database, which is almost 6,000 strong, to try to promote these individuals who are currently unemployed, or in some instances, it's actually persons who are underemployed as well. So if you have your resume and your credentials, I'm asking people to basically send me that information by email. I am having a free job seminar on Saturday at the Georgetown Public Library, and that's just for people to come out and actually have their resume reviewed, give them some tips and feedback on what they need to be doing to make sure that they're adequately prepared for applying for the job, for the interview process, and the whole 9 yards, basically, to make their efforts as successful as possible.
Nice. So you're basically doing the role of the labor office.
Well, I think that when you're unemployed, that you have to approach your efforts from all different angles. Yeah. So, definitely the workforce agency, I think is what it's now called. You make sure that you register with them. You scan the paper every single day. This is just another avenue, if you will, to try to assist people with their job efforts. It's certainly not the only thing that they should be doing. You've got to really, pull your pants up and do what you need to do. Yeah, I mean, I've gotten messages from Facebook friends that ask about this, the relationship between the expat and the Caymanian within the workforce. And, this is a real old issue. This has been going on for a very, very long time. I believe that one of the reasons why it's not getting better, in fact, it's getting worse, according to some people, is that as long as you have people who can secure your work permit through by whatever means possible, it's never going to get better. The Caymanian will always be demeaned in the workplace and made to feel as a lesser person. So if the rules were followed, that wouldn't happen, because that relationship would become important. And look for those recommendations for the renewal of work permit and so on. So I think it's, to be honest, just from someone who's done quite a bit of soft skills and management training, I think the issue in regards to relationships in the workplace becomes one of human resources and managing your staff and managing staff issues and concerns. We have a very diverse culture here in the Cayman Islands, and so that alone may cause friction at times in the workplace, because people simply don't understand each other. And it's all about good communication, and as Stephen Covey said, seeking to understand before you're understood, and trying to put yourself in the other person's shoes. And that's how we should try to approach any sort of communication process that we have with individuals. So to be honest, I think that if we had more conscious and more aware managers in these organizations, you'd be surprised how much could be accomplished and how much conflict would actually be eliminated. Yeah, I mean, we don't really have any real human resources departments, or very few.
Human resources is supposed to be about conflict resolution. It's supposed to be about developing people. It's supposed to be about making sure you do long-term, short-term planning for human resources, making sure that those relationships are there, making sure performance appraisals are being done, and that there's no halo effect, that there's no ill treatment to others, that is being done very neutrally, unemotionally, that supervisors and managers are well trained and that they understand emotions and how emotional intelligence, understand how to manage people and to identify the clear signs when they're not going to have a good day and they need to be pulled out of line and given some time off and helped out in those life-changing events as well. How do you support them in all the wellness programs?
Yeah, it's a very complex profession, no doubt about it. And, you have to appreciate that as a HR manager, you're not going to necessarily have the expertise in every segment of managing your people and of managing your resources in an organization. So sometimes you need to either outsource those efforts or you need to be able to point your employees in the right direction in terms of where they can go for assistance, whether it's counseling, mentoring programs, and so on. So I think it's really important. I mean, part of my master's degree is actually in HR development. So that's my focus, is on the training side of things and the development side. So I certainly don't pretend to be an expert necessarily overall, but I think we have a caller in the line.
Yeah, we have a caller in the line. Let's go straight to the phone lines. Hello, caller, you're on there.
Hello, Mr. Joey, and good evening, Miss Sandra.
Hi, good evening.
Thank you for your call.
Yes, first time I know Miss Sandra through when she was doing the initiative for the sex offenders, the one who do abuse children, and I was one of the first people who to sign to publicize and put those to publish their names so people can aware of them, and that was one of the nice, most hard work and good work she tried to do in the society. And I think she one of the active in the society, and she try and do good things, and we encourage such lady.
Thank you.
What I want to say today is we really want to start something about educated people about their human rights and what is they eligible to say and what is their rights. Because unfortunately in Cayman we have a human rights committee. If you talk to them like you talking to the dead people in the graves, and those human rights committee in Cayman, unfortunately, they're not caring about anything happening in this island. They are in other world. They are in other part of the world. And I think educated people about their human rights, what is good for them to speak, what is happening in their society. This is one of the issues important. I think one of the benefit of Joey Ebanks show is this: showing people what is their rights, what is they can and they can't do, and this is something to educated people. The other issue is surprised me today. I mean, when I hear, these days when you see how much amount of Caymanians unemployed.
Yes.
And the initiative with Ms. Sandra and others who try to do something about that, that is the job of the Ministry of Labor. And unfortunately, that department is dead as you talk into the graveside. They are not doing anything. And the same thing, the Immigration Board, which guarantees hundreds of work permits to every day and every day. We have, while we speaking today, there is people just arrive in the island who is in a work permit, doing work to the Ritz-Carlton, to other hotels. And it's hurt you when you see somebody in Cayman who born and grow in this island and he can't find a work. Is that right? Where those candidates, the one they're fighting against minimum wage? It hurt you when you hear this C4C candidate saying, oh, he against minimum wage, because he don't want the Caymanians to get employed. He wants to slave some Filipinos, some other nationalities, bring them for $3 and slave them.
Yeah.
That is how the mentality those people have. And I hope the Caymanian people don't elect nobody from C4C, because will be a disaster and slavery in this country for generations. Thank you.
Thank you for your call. But, Sandra, one of the things that he said that sort of hit home with me is that minimum wage and the importation of cheap labor. And that cheap labor then occupying apartments, for example, that are approved legally for 2, 4 people, 3 people, and you have 6 to 10 people, because their wages are so low that they have to share living quarters in order to make ends meet and to be able to send money home. I think that's what we need to stop. Here's why: because 1, it will force the wages to go up, and 2, we have a lot of aging Caymanians and senior citizens who actually built apartments to help subsidize their retirement, and they are unoccupied right now because we're allowing blocks of people to illegally occupy apartments.
Well, I think, as with most of these issues, I should say all of them really, it comes down to the political will of the persons that we elect in this country to do the things that are in the best interest of Caymanians. And I have seen, that caller also mentioned my efforts with the sex offenders registry. Right. That has been something that's been going on for many, many years. And all governments, in my opinion, for the past 12 years that I've been working on this, have really failed the people of the Cayman Islands in respect to that particular issue and so many other issues. If it's not something that they can gain some sort of immediate benefit from, or even just political, kudos, they don't seem motivated enough. And a lot of issues that affect children and women and, the lower echelons of society fall into that category. So I think at the end of the day, the honest truth is we need to elect people to office. And I'm never one to tell people who to vote for. I think I had this posted on my Facebook last week. A lot of people ask me, who should I vote for, because they trust my opinion. And I tell people straight up, listen, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. You need to be accountable for yourself and your vote. I will point you in the right direction in terms of the resources to find out about your candidates, and you make your own decision.
We have a caller on the line. Let's go straight to the phone lines. Hello, caller?
Hey, Mr. Joey, how are you doing?
Good. Thank you for your call.
All right, Ms. Sandra, good day.
Hi there. Good evening.
This is the voice of the Cayman Islands firefighters. Want to voice a concern.
Okay.
But when we're talking about the Caymanians and the expats, the relationships, let's look at the Cayman Islands Police Service. Let's compare them. Let's contrast them with the firefighters. The UK commissioner, the commissioner from the UK, he comes here. I'm saying this respectfully too. He does an assessment of the police service. Then he goes to the respective ministers, and he says, "We can't operate like this. We need more resources. We need more manpower." And in the snap of a finger, he gets what he requests. Let's contrast that now with the fire service. The fire service has been understaffed for 15 years. No exaggeration.
Wow.
No exaggeration. Repeatedly, the managers request to the ministers, say, we can't operate like this. The guys are under stress. We need more manpower. Over and over and over, the requests are being declined. Right now, you have guys in the service over the years, because of the understaff. These guys have 5th to 6th vacation days.
Wow.
That they cannot get because of overstaff issues. And we're talking about stress, high stress levels.
Yeah.
One thing that the public don't understand about the Cayman Islands Fire Service, we have 2 sections. The domestic section that deals with your fires, your house fires, your road incidents. those are the guys that you see almost every day. Based on the airport, you have the airdrome division.
Right.
These guys are responsible for the safety and the well-being of the aircraft that land here. And not only that, the Owen Roberts International Airport is a licensed airport.
Yes.
This is a requirement. This is mandatory. Because of understaff, we have to upkeep a Category 8. The bigger the airplane, the higher category we have to maintain.
Right.
And we're at a Category 8 because of the British Airways, the biggest plane that land here. We have a lot to do with tourism. If we decide one day that, it's enough, and take those trucks out by the new government administration building, where they're deaf ears towards us, you will see how different this country runs.
True.
If we lock shop, the tourism industry that comes here via the airport shuts down. Those pilots aren't going to land here with no safety protection. We've been, because of understaff, we're not been maintaining a Category 8 airport for at least 6 months.
Wow.
The ministry knows about this.
Wow.
Our leaders are not getting what they're requesting. Is it because they're Caymanians?
Good question.
Again, the commissioner of the police, he's from the UK, and I say this respectfully. He gets everything he requests. He has the helicopter.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. This discussion has been going on for several months now. And it's more than being understaffed. It's the lack of additional training. It's lack of succession planning and upward mobility opportunities. You have officers there underpaid that have been there for over 20 years and still not making $3,000 a month. Correct?
Correct. You don't want to compare them to the other uniform services.
No, there's no comparison really. In truth,
it's shameful, Mr. Joey.
Yes, it is. It seems like 10 years ago you guys were forgotten about, and you're still being forgotten about. You're something like a decade behind everybody else.
And one last request I would like to make. Mr. Arrington Webster, he's been with the service for a long time. And we need him on the show to answer questions that we have.
Well, we had him here.
We need the ministers to hear our concerns.
Okay.
Because they're turning a deaf ear towards us.
And I told you guys before, you need to become a lobbying unit, right? Because you have been on deaf. It's been falling on deaf ears. I mean, I've done everything I possibly could to get some of this resolved for you. I know it, and this began a long time ago, back 3 years ago, when you hadn't been paid your overtime. Then for 3 years, you were 3 years behind on your overtime.
We're still, excuse me, Mr. Joey. We're still like that.
Wow.
You have guys right now 600 hours comp time. That's 600 hours away from their kids, from their families.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I like the comparison you made too with the Commissioner of Police, because in the press release that spoke to his contract renewal, he said his budget had been restored to its initial amount, meaning he got more money too to his budget in addition to a 4-year contract. So he's got more cash to operate with while you guys are still out there. You, the Caymanian firemen, are still out there, not even being able, and this is illegal, it's illegal not to pay you overtime, it's illegal. It's illegal not to pay you time and a half and double time too. You can't trade it for straight time,
And the leaders of the ministries, they know what's going on. Maybe it's because we're Caymanians, we could be pushed aside.
Yeah.
The respect level is low, and it has to be restored.
It has to be restored. I mean, the thing is, you're one of those units that you never want to call, but you're going to call if you need it. If you're needed, I mean, I keep saying to people who who I speak to about you guys and the need for fairness, that if you see a building downtown catches a fire, you're going to see how valuable the fire service is that day when they have to pull people out and rescue people. And we know that you can't have low morale and expect a high level of performance.
Well, thank you very much, caller.
Thank you very much for your call, and thank you very much for bringing this attention of this in public as well.
Okay, thank you again for your time.
Okay, thank you.
That's kind of sad, actually, Joe.
Yeah, it's depressing, that is real bad. I mean, because those guys are highly committed. Mm-hmm. They're committed to Cayman. They're committed to protecting us. And they go to work, you're talking about hundreds of hours in overtime not being paid. When I first heard about it, it was 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
It was 3 years then they hadn't been paid their overtime. And I made a call and it happened. But I understand afterwards they were paid straight time instead of overtime.
Wow.
Because it was apparently it was said that they were willing to just take straight time. I mean, and that's unfair. It's unfair. It's wrong. It's unfair.
Well, hopefully, that caller certainly provided a lot of information.
Yes.
I think some of us didn't even know that those are some of the activities that fall under, their job responsibility and how that department is divided up. But, it sounds a little bit like a PR issue as well.
It is.
Like whoever is managing the fire service, they need to do more to get the word out there and to promote their guys, even within government, because I bet you a lot of these ministers may not even know what exactly it is that the fire department does.
And, what he missed out on, he didn't blow his own horn. Because look at all the volunteer services they do. Mm-hmm. There's the fire service run that they do for charity. There's quite a bit of things that they do for charity as well. So they make a contribution in addition to making a sacrifice and not being treated fairly. And here's the other thing. He's saying that they're understaffed. With all these Caymanian men unemployed, why are they understaffed?
Well, I couldn't tell you the last time I've seen a job advertised for that department.
True.
So clearly they're understaffed, but no one's hiring either. So,
no one's hiring, yeah. So that's one thing. So they're paying more in overtime by maintaining low numbers.
Yeah.
So that's...
And sometimes, just from a business perspective, you and I have been business owners, sometimes it doesn't make sense to have staff accruing overtime. You might as well hire that third or fourth person that you need and have them do the job.
Yes.
And then you can keep staff morale high.
Yes.
You can make sure people are getting vacation. They're getting their off days. They're getting the adequate rest and time with their families, and taking a more holistic approach even to scheduling of your employees and stuff like that. So some very interesting issues that caller brought up. So thank you again for calling.
Yeah. It's I've heard this story so many times, and it's always one that you stop and you wonder about how are we letting this kind of thing happen. I have a couple of other requests that came in and by Facebook. One of this is, I heard that the new hospital will not be hiring Caymanians, not even as housekeepers or security officers. The question was asked why, and they said Immigration and Cabinet has already approved that they bring in their own people. Now, do you think this is fair to us Caymanians? This came from a reliable source. Mm. So, any news on that, Sandra?
I personally haven't heard that myself, so I can't really confirm or deny that. But I would say that personally, I would be extremely disappointed if any such agreement or undertaking had been made by the politicians or immigration in this country, because at the end of the day, the reason why we take on these projects and we give them so many concessions in duty and all sorts of other things is really because they're going to somehow assist the economy here in the Cayman Islands. And what that means in real terms is giving Caymanians jobs.
Yeah. And I think that what's been approved for them is for the medical expertise. Mm-hmm. All of the other auxiliary staff is going to be pulled out of the local labor pool.
Yeah.
Because
I would hope so.
Yeah, there's also a nursing training program now at UCCI. So there's opportunities there for Caymanians to get hired. I went to the presentation at the hospital's construction site, and I didn't stay for the entire thing. I had to leave for another meeting, but it was presented. It's a great project. It's good for Cayman. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that certainly I wouldn't stand for that. People talk about how do you stop them? You stop them through immigration, man. You just say, no, you're not getting work permits. You need to hire and train some Caymanians. And in fact, what needs to be said to the developers now? You need to start training some Caymanians now. Because don't think you're going to open this door and say there's no trained Caymanians, therefore you need to import some.
Right.
You need to start training them now. Hire them, pay them a minimum wage to go through the training so that they're ready when you open the doors. And don't be looking then in the pool after it's open and say, oh, we're ready. Don't, if Joe Ebanks is elected, don't come looking for work permits.
Right.
Start now.
Exactly.
Submit your app, get your advertising out there. Start pulling these people in. Pay them a minimum wage to go through the training. Let them explain to them it's minimum, but we have to run you through some training. Get your timing right, so that when you open that door, those Caymanians are in uniform and there and getting behind this hospital.
Now, speaking of unbelievable things that you hear or see on Facebook, there's someone sent me this cartoon, and it's 3 guys in a prison cell, one smoking and having a drink, and the next guy, he looks like he's cleaning his fingernails with a little pocket knife. And one guy says, I now have 124 friends on my Facebook page, more than I ever had as a thief on the outside. So why take away my smartphone? Just a little something to make you laugh in terms of, I mean, it's not a funny situation at all in terms of prisoners having access to smartphones and being able to post photos and commentary and stuff on their Facebook page, I guess, as well as the page of other individuals.
Yeah. I mean, the other question that the person who sent this to me had was, I think the Immigration Department needs to get a bit more involved with the economy, because too many businesses are taking out permits for certain types of jobs that I for sure know that there are a lot of qualified Caymanians out there that is capable of doing the job. I go back to the selling of work permits, business to business, and that's what it is. When the board is going to deny a CEO of a company a work permit, then it's going to be some strings pulled behind closed doors, get that person a work permit. Here's what happens. Had that person gone and had another person been promoted, had they had a succession plan, that would affect all the way down to the teller. Because once one person moves up, the other moves up, and it's a chain reaction, and that teller, which happens to be, may have been that Cayman single mother, would have gotten a promotion as well. So that's how it imposes and maintains poverty in Cayman when we allow that kind of thing to occur. Don't think because it's the CEO it's not affecting you. It is affecting you. Indirectly, it's costing you money, it's keeping you in poverty.
Yep, absolutely.
So we're coming up to the hour. Phone lines are open. I have to go do some canvassing. Sandra, you want to have any closing remarks?
Well, thank you, Joey, again, for the opportunity to come on and speak about the job recruitment efforts. We all need to make a concerted effort to help each other in any way that we can. So once again, the email address to send your resume to is info@skills.ky. I want to especially thank some of the media houses that have promoted this story for me.
Yes.
Cayman 27 has done a wonderful news story that I understand they aired last night. Cayman News Service has also ran a story on it, and of course my personal efforts are mostly on Facebook, so people can contact me via email or Facebook about trying to find a job. And the seminar again is Saturday at 12 o'clock at the Georgetown Public Library. It's 12 to 1:45, and I encourage everyone to come out, but I do kind of need persons to email me and confirm that they're coming, so that I can let the library know in terms of how many seats to set up for us.
Yeah, that's a great event. We have a caller on the line? Let's go straight to the phone lines. Last call. Hello, caller, you're on there?
Yes, good evening, guys.
Hi there.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for calling.
I was listening to your caller, the gentleman regarding the fire station. I can definitely relate to what he's saying. I'm not a fireman, but I work in another government department, mainly customs. I would also like to say that he was mentioning about salaries need to be looked at, and morale and overtime and all of that. Well, I just want to say that, overall it should be, because I know fire station came up with, quite a bit, and those guys do a wonderful job. Not to knock them at all.
True.
But there's other departments that definitely need to be looked at as well. Of course, overtime isn't something that should be made the last and final motivator.
Agreed.
But I think in situations like now, As a matter of fact, I've spoken to past ministers regarding the overtime and what have you. And I even had a word with Mr. Bush at one time regarding overtime, and there was no logical reason why overtime.
Hello?
I think, did we lose that caller?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things actually I wanted to say, Joey, about civil servants in general. Remember a couple years back when government personnel was decentralized?
Yes.
So that you had departments now having senior human resources managers at the departmental or the ministerial level, I should say. And some of those persons have 3 or 4 assistant HR people within their respective ministries. So I'm a bit lost at why these particular issues are not being addressed and looked at more carefully, because everyone knows that there's been a salary freeze for all civil servants, and they even, I think, did a salary reduction. But at some point, you need to analyze the cost of living and all the statistical information that we're getting from the economics office to make sure that people's salaries are in line with the cost of living. And I assumed that when they decentralized the personnel department within government, that meant more effective management, and that these issues could be addressed more, immediately, if you will, and have some real solutions come out.
And the thing is as well that people have to understand is when you have an employee who is consistently being paid overtime, you've just raised their standard of living. You can't, over a period of time, that becomes a norm now, an expectation. They've raised their standard of living to that level, and that's dangerous. Because if you take away the overtime, if you get additional employees and you don't adjust wages and you remove the overtime, you've now placed that individual employee into a financial situation that is going to be adverse to their household. So, it's something that managers and leaders need to understand. You can't play this game. Once you've done that for several years with employees, you've now adjusted their salary to this amount. And at the same time, you're overworking them. And morale is falling. So you have to deal with it up front. The reason why companies look at this on an annual basis is because they don't want to look at it in 10-year blocks. It's just too costly to do. And you need to look at the pay for performance issues. You need to be able to adjust those so that you can cap salaries. Then you have your bonus scheme in there and pay for performance scheme in there, and that allows you to manage your costs and get a higher performance. So managers within the civil service needs to start looking at this too. We're talking about costs, and we saw the article last week about civil servants working 2 jobs. Well, here's some of the reasons why they're working 2 jobs. And we keep going back to this Miller report about we need to cut the civil service. Listen, this guy can't tell us anything. Okay, but first of all, that was a waste of money. We know what we need to do with the civil service. We just need to get on with it. We need to divest of some of these government-owned and operated businesses and have this core civil service be the regulatory unit for all businesses and move the country forward. And we need to develop these people and ensure that we're getting value for money. And morale is high.
Hopefully the powers that be are listening to your program and taking, some of this commentary on board, because people are not happy when you have civil servants talking about possibly striking one day, and that's not a position that you really want to be in.
That's poor
leadership. Let's take this seriously. Civil servants, the government, the Cayman Islands government, is the largest employer on the island, and it affects all of us because we all have family members and relatives who are civil servants, and so there's a huge trickle-down effect here. So, let's stop ignoring the issue and get on with the business of solving some of these problems.
And we need to show some respect to civil servants too. We can't just keep beating up on these people every day. Start showing them some respect. It's going to take some work for us to build that relationship again, because it's so contentious now with everyone. But we need to smile at them, say hello, greet them, say thank you. There's just because they're civil servants doesn't mean that they're obligated to be a servant. Exactly. We have to show some respect. They are human beings, and we need to demonstrate that when we interact with them as well.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're up to the hour, after the hour actually. Time to say goodbye. Before I go, I just want to say to the people of Northside that, I'm coming out to do the little canvassing tonight. Look for you guys. I've been in there this morning. I'm looking forward to your support. Mr. Miller has made it clear as to what your expectations can be from him. I'm going to play that clip for you.
And I want to say good. I'm going to leave you with a clip and a little bit of Eminem. So I'm going to ask my producer to put on his statements that he made on his most recent radio show. And it is that, you know, he's made it clear you will get from him the same thing you got in the last 4 years. And I'm saying to you, we can do much, much.